Morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. It's your boy Sleepy Boy here back at it again with another No More Future. And yeah, how you doing? How am I doing? I'm doing okay. Let's get back to the game. Everyone's arguing about what they're going to do with synthetic technology. Some talk about work, others relaxation, others yet about finding love or a new family. You'd be lying if you said you never saw a more embarrassing spectacle before in your life. But this is still ridiculous. Not to mention deeply uncomfortable. There's no need to get so agitated. We can just... The sound of your voice is muffled by all the others, making you feel even more caged in than before. Every inch of you is telling you to run away, but you're simply out of options. You're gonna have to endure this for as long as it... Oh dear, what in the world is going on here? As if answering your prayers, a familiar voice beckons you from behind. Sus. The whole crowd gasps in awe as Mary suddenly shows up wearing the fakest smile you've seen yet. I was about to say you've ever seen. I was wrong. There you are, Isaac. I've been looking all over for you. The woman from earlier turns to face the Siamese, a wide smile on her wrinkled face. Am I recording? Yes, I am. We're a minute in. If it isn't the esteemed Dr. Shelley herself, it's an honor to meet the mind behind the synthetic project. The pleasure is all mine, I assure you. Mary's voice is cordial and polite, or at least it sounds that way to a regular person. It seems like you're the only one who can pick up the disgust she feels as she entertains a brief conversation with your groupies. Now then, as much as I'd like to continue with the pleasantries, I'm afraid that me and Isaac here have to leave for the time being. We had some tests and experiments planned for right about now, and we can't afford to delay them any further. Tests? Experiments? She definitely didn't say anything about that back at your apartment earlier. Before you can ask for clarifications, the woman finally turns to face you. Well, should we go now? Yeah, let's. You don't even need to think before agreeing to the woman's requests. Having waited so long for an excuse to leave this place. You take the lady's hand and let her help you to your feet, then follow her across the room to a large elevator on the other side. It seems like you've finally made it out of here. However, right before you can enter the elevator, the old man from earlier just has to address you once again. Dr. Shelley, if I may. We've been talking about your synthetic for so long, We wanted to know how long it might take before this technology becomes safe for human use. The Siamese exhales deeply from her nostrils, likely in an attempt to avoid sighing right to their face. Unfortunately, we're still hard at work on our research and testing. It's hard to say for certain when it will all end. Until then, I'd prefer not to talk about any definitive dates. My team's already under enough pressure as it is, you see. But of course, I apologize for my husband. He only got more impatient with age. No need to apologize, miss. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have some very urgent tests to run right about now. The elevator arrives just in time to spirit you and the scientists away, preventing the crowd from asking further questions. You wave back to them as politely as you can from within the lift as the doors close before you, until they're finally out of your sight. Only then do you allow yourself to lean against the wall and sigh, feeling absolutely drained. Good lord, I'm beat. I thought I was gonna have to deal with them for the rest of the day at this rate. Yeah, sorry about that. One of my buddies needed some help with their software and it seemed like such a small thing. It's alright, don't worry, I understand if you were busy. Though you try your best to raise your spirits, the cat appears a little reluctant to oblige. I just don't want you to feel like I'm neglecting you is all. I know my words yesterday left a sour taste in your mouth, and letting those people get their way with you for so long definitely didn't help. She's right about that. You have to admit, the Siamese performance from the other day didn't inspire the greatest confidence in you, and there's still so much about her that leaves you completely puzzled. Hopefully you'll have a chance to ask her what you previously couldn't today, but definitely not in the midst of an elevator. Besides, you have other questions you'd like an answer to first. So, am I really here to do more tests? Of course not, Isaac. We just needed a reason to get the hell out of there. Dear lord, what an annoying bunch. I could smell their pretentiousness all the way from the elevator. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Who even were those people? VIPs of all sorts, I imagine. Managers, directors, well known journalists, maybe even politicians. Modern day aristocrats, essentially. Your legs almost gave out upon hearing her say that. You had no idea you were talking with such influential people. Then again, you did meet with the CEO of Pandora twice already, so maybe you're getting a tad carried away here. What are people like that even doing here? Presumably, they're waiting for a meeting with Jasper or one of his underlings in accounting, looking to talk business or to beg for some extra cash to line their pockets. Hell if I know what he actually does with them. The cat vigorously shakes her head at the thought, seemingly disappointed. They didn't annoy you too much, did they? No, I'm fine, don't worry. You try your best not to look too shaken before your well-meaning friend, though you have to admit that it's rather hard. They just caught me off guard is all. They all started talking to me all of a sudden and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Well, maybe talking to me is a bit of a stretch. They were more so talking about me. Right to your face? Yeah. It's always surreal when people do that. They all sounded so hopeful about their future lives as synthetics, but they still referred to me as though I was a museum piece. I cracked my neck. I silently nodded in reply, feeling completely overwhelmed all of a sudden. I don't understand. Why would even the most fervent supporters of this technology still talk to me like they would a machine? Simple, because they think you are a machine. A simple and coherent deduction, but a confusing one nonetheless. Why would they? Because on the road to success, failure is supposedly inevitable, at least according to most people. I assume they think that all synthetics we create before our public release are failed creations that will only let them become synthetics once we've engineered one that is actually human or something. That's just how people are, sadly. Nobody wants to be the first to try out a new, potentially risky technology. Everyone wants to be the last. Especially when there are so many suckers who can test it out before them. Hearing the scientist's words make you sick to your stomach. There's no other way to react to knowing that even those who are looking forward to synthetics still view as a little more than an AI. He's a chat GPT open AI, you know what I'm saying? He's just there. As though you were a replica of what the real deal is supposed to be. Is this why Bradbury spoke to you the way he did yesterday? Because he thinks that true synthetics are yet to come? But that's not how it works, right? You didn't have any failed creations so far, did you? Well, not any known ones anyway. The Siamese sighs as she faces you straight on once again, an unsure but hopeful gaze in her eyes. If we knew, we wouldn't be here today. All of our synthetics so far have given us no solid evidence one way or the other of their humanity or lack thereof. We have some leads based on their neural process analysis and behavioral patterns, but nothing definitive. We have nothing to disprove these people's fears at present, but there's also no ground for them to stand on either. As it currently stands, this project is still a shot in the dark, which depending on how you see it is definitely better than knowing for sure that we failed. Oh yeah, that's for sure, for real, that's true. No cap. In a way, Mary's words are strangely soothing. Knowing that you still can't say whether you're truly human or not is definitely better than getting caught up. Got caught. Caught up. Now I'm like thinking, wait, am I pronouncing it correctly? Caught up in people's impression that you simply aren't. The unknown can be a baffling, helpful friend sometimes. Of course, you don't plan on relying on it forever. I assume there's no direct way I can help you speed up the process? Mary smiles at your implied request, glad that you're still willing to help out in spite of everything. Like Natalie told you the other day, you're already doing enough for us by simply living your ordinary life. That and not upsetting that crowd when they were bothering you earlier, I owe you for that one. If they got pissy for whatever reasons and told Jasper about it, I'd never hear the end of it. You scratch the back of your head as you recall your actions in the midst of that conversation, or rather your inaction. Yeah, I was getting a little worried about how I might have to speak with them. They actually started asking me questions and stuff. Sorry, my voice is cracking. Which they never did. Right. I'll make sure to come grab you a lot faster next time. But don't worry, I'm taking you someplace full of far friendlier people. You figured they raise an eyebrow at the woman's remark, unsure what she's talking about. Your office? Not exactly. Hopefully we meet other synthetics. I think that's where it's leading us. The elevator suddenly stops on a floor you never visited, much to your surprise. Mary gives you a playful wink as she invites you to see what lies behind. Hey! The laboratory before is unlike any other place you've seen in this building yet. Spacious, bright, orderly, a far cry from Mary's office, for sure, for sure. Not to mention all the wicked contraptions lurking in every corner of the room, as well as the many scientists eagerly working on them. The engineers chatting creates a pleasant background noise for you to lose yourself in spite of your inability to comprehend most of it. You didn't think you'd ever feel this way, but this really seems like a place you could come and work at every day of your life. Oh, it is actually pretty cool. It's a neat background. You spend an eternity gazing from one end of the room to the next, enthralled with everything you see before Mary interrupts your thoughts once again. So, enjoying the view? I am. I've never seen this place before. How come you never showed it to me earlier? Well, what with you being a nervous wreck during your first few weeks post-transition, I thought bringing you to a place full of half-finished synthetic bodies might have been too... uncanny? Yeah. The Siamese is definitely right about that. You can recall those days fondly even if they paid you to do so. Learning that your family had definitively cut ties with you, that they had abandoned you to your fate without so much as saying goodbye. It had you question whether there was even any point to your decision to continue on as a synthetic for quite a while. But you're beyond those days now, for the most part, or at least you try to be. So, I take it this is some sort of testing grounds for synthetic parts? You'd already gathered that much upon seeing all the incomplete android vessels lying around earlier, but you might as well inquire further about it. You got that right. This is where my team experiments on new and all synthetic designs in an effort to create the best possible experience for you and all the people that'll come after you. I see. All these people here are part of your team? All of them, and so many more. I coordinate lots of different teams all over the world. These people are just the closest to home. All over the world? So how many scientists are working under you exactly? The Siamese starts tapping the tip of her chin repeatedly with her index finger, seemingly unsure. Probably somewhere in the 5 figures if I had to guess. I couldn't keep track of all of them if I tried. Maybe you should ask one of the 1,000 something managers I oversee. 1,000? That many? Hey, the papers might call me the greatest mind of our generation, but even I couldn't pull all of this off on my own. He's got a point there. Every great invention in history wasn't born of just one man's work. It was also the fruit of their collaborators, their friends, their family, their teachers. The cat shifts her gaze to the rest of the room, a glint of pride in her eyes as she does so. Honestly, I could have never gotten this far into this project without all these people backing me up. I owe them a lot for sticking... Oh, oops, whoopsie, I could read that. For sticking with me through thick and thin. And so does the human race, even if they aren't ready to realize it yet. Wow, I've never heard anyone praise their staff like that before. I'll take that as a compliment. Now, do you want to stand here all day, or would you rather give some of this stuff a closer look? You'd love to take the woman up on her offer, but you're still hesitant to oblige. You sure? I wouldn't want to intrude or anything. Oh, don't be scared, Isaac. You're among friends now. Here, let me present to you some of my colleagues. Just like that, the cat has you swinging from one end of the room to the next, greeting all sorts of people as you go. You lose track of all their names pretty quickly, much to their chagrin, though their friendliness does strike you as rather genuine. Most of the people you see are pretty young, with occasional old fogey or two greeting you just as warmly as the rest. It's quite a peppy crew, all things considered, not to mention quite the sophisticated one. You spot a couple of people wearing some suspicious looking visors on their heads, displaying emotes and messages in a manner similar to the one you use to communicate yourself. It's one startling coincidence, for sure. As soon as you have a moment to yourselves, you immediately inquire about it to Mary, hoping that she can shed some light on the topic. So, what's up with all this equipment your colleagues are wearing, if I may ask? The Siamese seems delighted to hear you ask about that. Oh, those! There's some next-gen augmented reality tech we're testing out. AR glasses have always been popular with gamers, but they've also proven useful to workers, scientists, and pretty much anyone who needed the power of an advanced computer wherever they went. All you need to do is to voice a command or move your eyes a certain way and the AI would take care of it as best as it could. However, that technology has its limits. For example, a user could require a certain thing but fail to explain to the AI correctly, or maybe there simply aren't good enough words to explain what they're thinking to begin with. It's a good limitation right there, a good question, for that technology. You're saying that these visors are better than that. Yup, those visors aren't just masks you can wear or take off as you wish. They're an extension of their user's muzzle with a direct neural link to their brain. Mind and matter, brain and computer, operating together to create an entirely unique way of thinking and seeing the world. Okay. Could you imagine that? You're so caught up processing the scientist's bedazzling explanation, you almost fail to pick up what she's really trying to tell you with that sneaky joke at the end. I don't need to imagine it, that's the same technology I'm using too. There you go. Again, the feline smile turns into an impressed and delighted smirk. Very good. You're right about that, of course. Your ability to freely access a computer through your thoughts alone is almost as recent a discovery as synthetics themselves. Of course, we had some time to try it out on biological humans before handing it over to you. You shouldn't run into anywhere near as many problems with it as we did. All of a sudden, you don't like the sound of that. What problems are you referring to exactly? Picking up on the whir in your voice, Mary's quick to explain herself before you can interpret things the wrong way once more. Oh, small bugs, technical glitches, things of the sort. I'll admit that there are tons of ways the technology that interfaces directly with your brain could go poorly, but we did our best to limit the damage it could cause in the worst case scenario. And you can bet that we're working on making it even safer and more stable to this day, because we care. After that brief conversation, Mary continues her tour of the place with you in tow, ever more curious of your surroundings. The idea of your software crashing and burning from within your brain still has you a little on edge, but you trust Mary that they've already prevented the worst from occurring. It's definitely better than believing the alternative. After that, you spend some more time gazing at schematics you can't comprehend and talking to people you don't know. It's easy to let your eyes wander in a place like this and spend ages trying to notice every little detail, including a series of synthetic vessels hanging on a nearby wall as though they were clothes. Among the various inactive prototypes, you immediately recognize an opossum, a shark, a platypus, and even some more complex designs that don't appear to resemble anything at all. Mary is quick to notice your interests. As you can see, we have a ton of different designs for synthetic bodies. Most of the early prototypes were reptilian or amphibian because of their simplicity, but we're now dabbling in mammals, fishes, insects, and so much more. All of these bodies look so strong, so refined, it's actually quite marveling to look at. It's like staring at an art gallery in a way. At the same time, it's almost a little creepy. It's like staring at a row of dead bodies, even though these ones were never alive in the first place. Yeah, good point. You can almost see yourself right in the middle of them, staring at the rest of the room from your spot on the wall, silent but begging to scream. I have no mouth, but I wish to scream. God, I need to stop thinking stuff like that. I have enough reasons to be paranoid all the time as it is. You try to delete that dreadful image conjured up from your thoughts as you turn to face the ever-cheerful feline once again. I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty impressive. I remember when we were talking about synthetics back when we first met, and you wondered how could it be to choose your own body down to the most minute details. It's nice to see you weren't just talking out of your ass back then. Huh, after all this time you think I'm still a con artist or something? No, of course not. Relax, I'm just messing with you. I know you don't think that. What I meant to say is that I'm ambitious, but never in over my head. I don't sell dreams I can't make true. And when I shared my dream of a world where everyone can choose what kind of person they want to be, well, I meant every word of it. Thinking back to when you first met Mary, you didn't have a lot of time to choose what your future self would look like before your condition worsened. Had you been presented with all these options and were given a little more time back then, would you have chosen differently? All in all, you can't feel too bad about that. Your current body already suits your needs quite nicely and there's really nothing more you could ask for. You don't plan on replacing it anytime soon. Though, with such a long life in front of you, you don't doubt the possibility of eventually changing your mind. What's this? Your eyes are drawn to a strange polygonal object lying on a table next to you. Its surface is as black as the night sky itself, hiding its contents from you no matter how hard you focus. It's about the size of a large potato and weighs almost like one too, and yet it feels even sturdier than the glass around Mary's own lava lamp. Oh, that right there is a synthetic brain. A black box. You give the object a second look, surprised by the unforeseen revelation. The thought of this being a brain never once crossed your mind. Is this truly what yours currently looks like? A black box, you say? I guess kinda makes sense. You store the memories in there, it's like a black box. It records stuff. But instead of recording it, direct transfer? I don't know. Like the ones used in planes and stuff? Not exactly. Yup. Generally speaking, a black box is a system that produces certain outputs in response to certain inputs. So, a computer. Pretty much, yes, except that with a black box, you can't inspect its inner workings unless you pry it open. When it comes to synthetic brains, of course, we use that term very liberally. We just chose it because it sounded cool. It does sound cool, not gonna lie. Of course they did. They don't even need to ask whether Mary had something to do with it to know it's true. Regardless, this all sounds very interesting. You never thought something this complex could be housed within something so small. So how does it work then? First, we programmed the black box to work exactly the way a regular brain would. Then we install all the additional hardware necessary to house the soul that makes you, you. Once the soul has been installed into the black box as a result of the transition, it automatically seals itself shut. I see, and you can't reopen it afterwards? Simply put, no. After it's been sealed shut, altering the black box's programming becomes entirely impossible, and no additional information can ever be sent to it. This is to prevent tampering that could destroy the soul of the individual it houses and to null the risk of viruses that could similarly wreak havoc on your systems. That's actually really impressive. They somehow, concretely measure the soul? I mean, we have measured the soul, but they measured it and then used it and transferred it. The question is that exactly. It's rather impressive, you have to admit. If Mary's words can be believed at face value, this would put all your worries about your memories being replaced or corrupted to rest. Even so, you still have your reservations about this technology. Some things that are a little hard for you to wrap your head around. Such as how in the world your soul is supposed to fit into a device this small for starters. You don't doubt that microchips have only grown more powerful since their humble beginnings 2 centuries prior and that their small size can be deceiving. But to think that something this inconspicuous could house your entire being so easily. Then again, you could have said the same of your original organic brain. Nevertheless, though this does help clear up some doubts for you, there's still a few things about this device that you don't quite understand. So, hold on. If we can't send any more information to the black box, how do I react to external stimuli? How can I see what goes on in the world, hear what you're saying to me right now, and so on? You see, there are a series of subroutines that govern your primary senses that send information to a white box right next to your brain. That's how you gather information on the world around you. Thanks to its advanced tech, the black box can view this information without the need of downloading it, and then proceeds to recreate it using the tools at its disposal. The black box can view the data on the white box. And then while reading it, it stores it or writes it in itself, or core memory, I guess. It takes you a while to understand what the Siamese means by that, but when you do, the realization hits you like a little truck. After you Are you misinterpreting things again, or does she truly mean what you think she means? So wait, are you saying that when I eat a box of cereal, I'm not actually tasting the food? That my brain just simulates the taste based on the information my software gathered? I mean, technically that's how our brain also works. Yup, that's how it works right now. It's hardly ideal, but this was the best compromise between allowing you to experience the world as free as possible and keeping you safe from any ill-intentioned hacker. You understand where the cat is coming from, but this is downright insanity. You are aware that the transition from human to synthetic wasn't complete, that some things were simply impossible to retain from one body to the next. But losing your senses? Your very ability to perceive the world around you, replaced by a software that merely mimics what you're supposed to feel? It might be able to replicate its original counterparts to perfection, but it's still just that, a replica. And that thought is probably the most depressing you've had in a while. But then, what's the point of doing anything if I can just simulate it in my head? Why go through all the trouble of creating a synthetic body for me to use when everything I can feel through it is nothing but a lie? Come on, Isaac, I never said what you're feeling right now is fake. Even before you transitioned, your body interpreted the world around it with a certain degree of imperfection, and you didn't even suffer from color blindness or similar illnesses. All this software does is try to relay information about your surroundings in a way that you can understand. Is that truly so bad? Try to come up with a rebuttal to Mare's explanation, but aside from instinctual cries about the purity of your old form, you cannot think of anything else. I guess I can see what you mean. Plus, if this technology is supposed to feel different from how I used to perceive things before, I honestly can't tell. It might be more difficult to adjust to than I thought, but maybe it's not as bad as I imagined it to be either. Precisely, I knew you'd agree with me. Besides, to answer something else you said earlier, this isn't about simulating human life, it's about continuing it, picking up from where we left off. In a mind without a body, a reward separated from the experience that birthed it would grow tiring very quickly. That much you can agree with quite easily. Experience isn't something that can be replicated easily, even with all this advanced technology. It's quite ironic, all things considered. You only realize how important living is after throwing your old life away. But enough with all these depressing thoughts. You've let them sour this learning experience with Mary for long enough. Anyway, like I said, we're still experimenting with all this stuff to this day. There's no telling how these gadgets might evolve in 10, 100, 1,000 years. Maybe by the time we've all embraced synthetics, we'll have improved our ability to recreate the human experience more than we can even fathom. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Though I guess I can't complain either way. What you've got going on right now is already pretty cool. I'm glad you think that. Now follow me, there's still a few things I'd like to show you. You spend some more time hanging around with Mary, taking note of all the little things you bear witness to in this workshop of wonders. Some things are a little too complicated for you to understand, but Mary always tries her best to keep it simple for you. It's almost like going back to school in a way. Though you're pretty sure that your classes have never been this fun before. Once Mary has finished talking with all the colleagues she needed to and shown you all the things you were curious about, she invites you over to a more secluded part of the laboratory in the far back. A somewhat petite rest area away from the chaos of the scientists and of the machines they're working on. It's not anything to write home about, but at the very least, it provides a comfortable seat for your weary body and mind. Mary quietly grabs a cardboard-like cup of water from the dispenser, then lets herself fall on the chair opposite of your own, looking rather pleased with herself. So, enjoyed the tour so far? Can't say I haven't. It was a bit short of becoming a lecture at times, but overall I'm thankful for all the things you showed me today. Hey, you're the one who was asking all those questions. Don't blame me for giving you answers when you're the one who wanted them. You can't help but chortle at the Siamese remarks. All in all, you really can't be mad at her for delivering some answers after all the time you spent clamoring for them. That said, I still don't know why you decided to bring me here today all of a sudden. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my time here so far and all, but did you really invite me over just to show me all this stuff? Of course not, I had my reasons. Those being? The woman takes a while to formulate her answer. Her playful tone suddenly turns a little more serious. Alright everybody, this is the end of the video. I'll be seeing you next episode of No More Future, or maybe a different game or topic, I don't know. Good luck with whatever you're doing. Subscribe, like, comment down below. Share it to friends and loved ones. See ya. Good luck.